Welcome to the Serene-ish Podcast. We're two friends trying for serenity, but life happens.
I'm Larissa.
And I'm Brenda.
And we're glad you're here.
Each week we share honest conversations about navigating everyday life, faith, relationships, soul care, and all the messy in-betweens.
You'll hear reflections, a little laughter, and hopefully encouragement to find peace in your own journey, even if it's just serene-ish.
All right, Larissa, we're here. We've been talking about this for a while now, and now we're actually here. And, I'm pretty sure we've invited our friends and family and listeners to jump on here. And the biggest question I'm thinking that they're probably thinking is why? Why are you doing this? And what? How do you guys know each other? Because, of course, everybody wants to know that, right? So, all right. So why don't we start out with where we're from, just a little bit of people are going to get to know us as we're talking, but just some of the basics. And then we can get into how we know each other, how we became friends. So where are you zooming in from?
Hi, Brenda and listeners. My name is Larissa Marks, and I am currently located on Oahu in Hawaii, or Hawaii, as other people say. And I live here with my family. I'm married to Steve, and we have 4 kids. We have Austin, Aria, Alexandra, and Aaron. So Aaron is our oldest. He's almost 16. Actually, this coming Friday is his birthday. And then our youngest, Austin, is 5. And what else? Yes, I'm a spiritual director. So I've been doing that for over a decade. Before that, I was doing full-time college ministry with an organization called InterVarsity. But currently, I'm a spiritual director. That means I meet usually one-on-one, sometimes in small group settings, to basically offer pastoral care to people who want to explore their spiritual life or are in discernment seasons with God. So I love that. And currently, my husband and I are also part of a small team of people in Hawaii who have created a nonprofit called Inoa Na'iwi. So I could share more about that some other time, but basically we're doing some land justice work in the community for Native Hawaiians. I think that's the gist about me. How about you?
Wait a minute. You're also an artist.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I do visual art usually or mostly with watercolor. So that's kind of a recent-ish thing I discovered in the last 2 years. I'm part of this amazing, really organic artist community on Oahu. And I paint in my free time. Although in the last couple weeks, I've been so busy with other bigger, big other projects related to work. So I haven't had much time, but that is one of my deep loves. Yes.
And I love it. I have a few pieces here at home, and I love that I got to go and see one of your pieces being profiled, or I don't know what the terminology would be, at a local gallery over there. So that was super cool. Yeah. So talented. Oh my gosh, so talented. So my name is Brenda Renderos, and I am in Southern California. I am 54 years old. I've been married for 31 years. I have 3 young adults, and we just live a very full life, doing a lot of things together. I am a soul care coach, somewhat similar to spiritual director, but more down the life coaching lane of things. And so that's what I get to do. I used to be a ministry leader at a church. I was on staff there. And when I resigned, I just looked for a different space to be able to connect with people and walk with them. And this has been a beautiful place to do that. I am connected with a few organizations, Unhurried Living, which is a spiritual formation organization. Also connected with Communitas, which is a global church planning organization. I'm on their board. And then I just get to do different projects. We also have a small faith community that meets in our home every Sunday. And that has been such a beautiful journey. It's something that happened by accident. So I'm sure that will be a conversation later. but it's been just such a really beautiful place for there to be healing, for our souls just to be refreshed, and to explore how the church can manifest in a variety of ways. So beautiful, beautiful thing for us. I personally love to be able to read, to be outside. I am very much connected to my environment. It has such a huge impact on me. And I think I've just learned more and more about what that actually looks like and what that means for me. And I have been able to pick up, we were just talking about this, Larissa, pick up my running shoes again after a few years of not being able to do that. And so that's been a whole journey in that. But I think those are maybe the highlights. I think that's about it. So, and I'm sure more of it's going to come out as we go. So you're in Hawaii, or tell me again the pronunciation, because I know the rest of us say Hawaii. What is the, like, I want to make sure I'm learning this. The actual way to be able to say this. How do we say it?
Right. So many people say Hawaii, right? But in real Hawaiian pronunciation, it's Hawaii.
Hawaii.
So the W, think of the W as being pronounced with the V sound.
Got you. So Hawaii. Hawaii.
Yes.
Hawaii. Okay, I got that. Okay. So you're in Hawaii and I'm in Southern California. So how did we meet? How do we become friends?
How did we meet? Right. And you already mentioned Unhurried Living, an organization that you and I have both been connected with for the last couple years. It's led and founded by a married couple, Alan and Jem Fadling. They've authored a bunch of books, some together, some separately. They have a whole ministry that's really geared towards Christian spiritual formation and equipping leaders predominantly to have healthy formation flowing into their leadership and their lives. And I initially met Alan and Jem, like maybe 15-ish years ago as a young leader with the ministry that I was a part of in Southern California. But anyway, long story short, that's my connection with them. And at some point, Jem had invited you and I, and we didn't know each other at that point, right? But she had invited us to basically collaborate on cultivating a community for women and some resources for women in leadership and ministry. So that was kind of the intersection point that we started collaborating on. And correct me if I'm wrong, like initially we just knew each other on Zoom. Like it was a lot of virtual, you know, in our own locations. I'm here in Hawaii, you're in Southern California. Jem is also in Southern California. But we would kind of get together, we would pray together, we would dream about what are we trying to equip women with. But I think it came out of that same passion. And then at some point you and I met in person at a conference that was happening, a spiritual formation related conference. And
in
at least
Wichita, Kansas.
In Wichita. Now, that's a whole nother story about looking like us in Wichita, Kansas. But I feel like actually that part of it to me felt like there was something about when I got to meet you in person. There was like an immediate, immediate connection, maybe certain ways that our lived experiences have been similar in many ways. Within, hours of connecting with you in person, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a friend for life. And I'm so excited to meet her. Yay. And I'm so excited to get to know her. And it was just like this, like an immediate love. That's how we got connected.
I totally agree. I would even say before that, in our Zoom meetings, there were certain questions that you would bring up. There was certain language that you would use that were just these like little windows that were opening up into seeing like just who you were, your personality. things that you like, experiences that I was thinking, that question has to have come from somewhere. That observation has to have come from this, a certain place. And these were all things that I felt like that were shared. Like, you know how sometimes there's this unspoken language between people, and you just know you've had some similar experiences. Maybe not exactly the same, but enough of the same that you catch each other's eye across the room, and like, I got you. Yeah, I saw that too. That kind of a thing. And you just bond over that, And so I picked up on a lot of that during our Zoom meetings. And then getting to meet you in person, that's always hard too, because sometimes who you've gotten to know online, you don't know if they're going to match up to the person that you're going to meet in person. And so, and that was just awesome being able, I think there was even one night, we had a bottle of wine on the table, and we just started sharing our stories. And I'm pretty sure I cried, and there was, maybe I think you cried, and there was just like, and that was our first time meeting, and to be able to go that deep that quickly, it was just, it was just amazing. So.
And I wonder too, I mean, like, I'm thinking about our friendship, and, so partnership had unfolded, just like wanting to connect more, like all of those things. And I think both of us have made intentional space for this friendship and ways to collaborate, right? And especially being geographically not close to each other, it's taken some intention. But I also feel like there's something about our personalities, and I don't think we're exactly the same. I think there are many ways that we have very different experiences, and also just different, like temperaments and stuff. But there's some ways that you and I maybe move through the world in similar ways too. Like, I think you and I have connected over being empathic and sensitive, also having a high value for social justice, exploring who we are as women of color in Christian circles. So all of these kind of things, but also just how we're wired. I feel like, there's a way that I know when you listen to me, you come with curiosity. Like, that's how I approach conversations with people or connection points. So I think there was just like this like magical synthesis between us that I have really loved. And I don't find that with everybody. So it feels like this like treasure,
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And my hope, and I think both of us, our hope is that as people are listening to these conversations, that they get to find that voice as well. So, like, it is a challenge going through life, and you can have wonderful friendships, but then that there are those particular friendships where, like you're saying, like you get it. And there's differences that are there, but those differences are encouraging, and they're challenging, and they're learning opportunities. But the similarities make you feel like, okay, I don't have to like completely explain this whole thing to get to the actual like gist of the story that I want to share. And that can be hard to find. So our hope is that there will be people listening in that maybe that space is a little scarce for them. Maybe they can find that here. Or it's a learning experience of how to be that person for someone else in your life. Like, what does that actually look like? So with that said, we were talking about wanting to, open the space and have these types of conversations and be able to open it to other people. And we started talking about serenity, and which we really were trying to encapsulate everything that we are passionate about. And it's such widespread because we are very passionate about soul care, spiritual direction, living an unhurried life. What does that pace look like? Connecting ourselves back to the earth that we are living on. Like, what does that look like? But also, and also having a passion for social justice, which can be really hard work. It can be sometimes slow, sometimes fast paced. You have a young family, so you've got a lot that's going on there as well. And so like, what do we do? And we're still trying to pursue this place of like serenity. And so we came up with this Serene-ish. So the question is, let's just talk a little bit about serenity and the whole why of the ish at the end of that. And as I'm saying that in my head, I'm thinking, because you know what? We really would love for there be serenity in our lives, but sometimes the ish happens, So what do you do? So what do like your thoughts on like the whole serenity and like why did we choose that lane?
Yes. Can I mention your goat metaphor?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Do.
At some point in these unfolding conversations, talking about this podcast, talking about the things that the two of us, are really authentically exploring in our own lives. So this podcast feels a little weird to me in the sense of, I don't think either of us are coming in positioned as experts. Like, hey,
no.
audience, like, here's how to live your life. Here are the hacks, and we have the answers. It's almost the complete opposite. It's we are co-journeying with one another and with people who might want to be a part of this conversation, right? And so we're just normal humans trying to work it out. And at some point in these conversations about this, you had mentioned the image that comes to your mind as being goat yoga, right?
Yep.
So that was a trend. I don't know how much of a trend it is now, but there was a trend for a while about like you could join yoga classes, but it's like with baby goats.
Yep.
And somehow you're doing like, downward dog and cat and cow poses with like baby goats, like screaming on your back or something.
Oh my gosh.
Neither of us have done that, but we just thought that metaphor, that image was so hysterical. And I think for me, that to me really does capture, I think, the reality of life. Like you said, like things happen that we don't expect, that we didn't plan for. The mess of life, right? Whatever that means, the chaos of life, the little baby goats screaming on your back when you're trying your best to be a healthy, normal human, right? Grounded, centered, peaceful. So I think, I mean, going back to what you just said about my stage of life right now, we have 4 kids. They're all in different stages. Our youngest almost is like a baby goat, no joke. I'm like herding him around throughout the day. We're like telling him like his volume is too loud for indoors. It's like kind of a constant like just chaos.
Yeah.
And daily, it's like daily. So for me, as somebody, like I want to be somebody who's peaceful inwardly.
Yeah.
And I do love order outside of myself, like in my environment. Now, that's not always possible. I don't control my environment. I don't control like the messiness of like all the hype, the many demands of our kids that our kids might have in any given moment. So I think for me, the Serene-ish idea really resonates with like a reality, but also, I don't know, like the aspiration of, I think there are ways to cultivate peace. I think there are real human practices, formation, habits, all of these things that can really help us have serenity. Yeah. But that might not look exactly like the guru meditating on the mountain. Right. You know what I mean?
100%.
Anyway, what are your thoughts?
100%. I totally agree. I think there have been times where, without meaning to, we can really set a bar just like too high for people of what something looks like. And when you and I have had conversations, and I love these kinds of conversations I've had with like there's certain friends of mine that we ask these very soulful type questions of each other, and it's more of like just like how are you navigating just real life. And so serenity, wanting that to like, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing. So yes, we would like for that to be, but what does this look like in this particular stage of my life? Yeah. And can I embrace that and allow that to be okay? And I know we're going to unpack that a little bit more, but part of that is even how we wanted to approach how we did this podcast. And you and I are coming to this with some tech experience, but limited, we've got some, but there's limitations to it. And we've got some equipment, but it's limited.
Listen, wait, I think at this point we should tell everyone our ages. I am 44.
And I think I'm 54. I'm 53. So wait, I'm at the age where I'm forgetting how old I am. So, and it's not to say that there aren't other people out there our age that are like total experts. We're just saying that, hey, we're bringing what we've got and we're just going to run with it. So sometimes it's going to, the sound may be like great quality. We're going to do our very best, but maybe it won't be, right? Or maybe you're going to hear like my dog like shaking because he wants to leave, or my cat come in and give me a big meow because he wants a treat. Or maybe your youngest is going to run into the room and say, Mom, I want a snack. Like, because this is real life. This is going to happen. So just for our listeners to know, it's not going to be total chaos, but this is where the ish part of serenity is going to come in. And we're just living real life, and we're doing this in the context of real life. We're not in a studio. We don't have all the things. We're not hating on it. We would love it, but we're just going to work with what we've got.
Yeah. And I think in doing that, first of all, it makes it sustainable and fun for us. Like I can't like showing up with more than what you have is just for impossible. But also I think my hope is that it also gives everybody else permission. Like, what does it mean for you in your own lives, given the chaos, given the limitations, given days when you, I don't know, just are having a sick day, or your mental health isn't as great as it usually is. That's all of those things. I think us doing it in this way with like kind of that blanket, like grace and permission for one another, for ourselves. My hope is that it extends out into like, especially in a world where what we usually see is very programmed, it's very high production. That's usually what is seen, right?
Yeah.
And so for us to be like, no, we don't have to do it that way. That is a way, but that's just not our way, and it doesn't have to be everybody's way.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. As you're saying that, I'm thinking about those people where they've been really wanting to dive into a project or start a new hobby, a new endeavor, or something, and they're just waiting for the perfect time. They're waiting to have all the pieces. And I would love to ask the question, is there a perfect time? And do you have to have all the pieces like right now? Yeah. Is there a part of this that you can just start now? And what would that look like? And how do you make that yours? As we got on the call, we were talking about, I just finished that half marathon. And for me, and that's probably going to come up in like future conversations, it's been just a whole journey in me relearning my body at this stage in life. I'm older, I'm in menopause. I do have a background in running, but I had to stop because of my knees and whatnot. So I've gotten healthy again. And I had to just really challenge myself and like, okay, I don't have all the same pieces that I used to have, right? I don't have youth anymore. I don't have those pieces. And I have to be careful with my knees. So I have to keep, making sure I'm working on strength and whatnot. So what does it look like just to work with what I've got? And it still makes me a runner. So I had my plan in place and I ran my race and I had a strategy of how I was going to run that race. And I've run distances and I can do it. But now I'm thinking longevity. And longevity means how do I stay healthy so I can keep going? So my strategy was I ran 2 miles, walk 90 seconds, 2 miles, walk 90 seconds, 2 miles, walk 90 seconds. And that kept me healthy. I'm still a runner, right? And so that's all we're saying is, hey, this whole concept of serenity, there is one image of what that could look like. But that's not true of everybody in every stage of life. And so how do we actually take this and make it our own in this particular stage of life, whatever that might mean for everyone? And you have full permission to do that. So let's just share with everyone a few things that they can expect when they come to this space here. We're going to have some deep conversations, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What else can we expect?
I mean, this little window and this initial pilot episode is a perfect example, right? I think there are ways that you and I are very fluid, and we're used to going deep and we both have fun. I think we approach life with joy and laughter, not taking life so seriously, though we can be serious and that we can talk about serious things that matter, right? But I think that there's something about like how, I don't know, just brutal honesty. I think that's part of it too. Like I'm not that interested in like masking myself for the sake of other people being able to digest me more or better or something. I understand that I'm not everybody's flavor, and that's fine. But I think that there's something about vulnerability and truth telling and honesty from our own lives that feels like also a part of these conversations. And like we said before, we're not going to be like hyper scripted. I think, you know, usually we'll have some topics in mind. And, you know, just jump into like real life conversations, which you and I have had, you know, many of in the past, but I think we're letting other people into that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. So please don't feel weird. Like if we're having a very deep conversation and then one of us says something and the other one starts cracking up. And then I almost feel like it's part of like a coping mechanism too. Like you need to have a little bit of laughter in the midst of some really hard things. I had to explain this to a doctor, and again, this will probably be another story for another podcast, but a procedure that I had, and my daughter was there, and we were taking it very seriously about what was the care that I was going to need to do over the next, you know, few weeks. But she and I kept giggling, and I had to tell the doctor, we are taking this very seriously, but the laughter is either you let us laugh or watch us just pass out, because that was the thing. I don't know if that, you know, I think it was a nurse. I don't think that nurse like totally got it, but we were just trying to not pass out. We were totally taking it seriously. So the laughter is not making fun or of anything, or, you know, sometimes it's just also a reminder that in the midst of the tough things, that there is still joy, and making sure that we don't lose grip of that joy. So we'll talk things about spiritual formation, soul care. We'll talk about social justice. We're going to talk about real life stuff. What are things that have going on in your life? What's been going on in my life? Maybe there's a book we've read we want to talk about, or a movie that we saw that we want to talk about. I don't know. Maybe all kinds of fun things that we'll be able to just talk, real life stuff. So we're just going to talk about all the different things. So okay.
And we might have guest conversations, you know, guests coming in for conversations. I think especially, you know, people we're already connected with or people we respect entering into these kinds of conversations. So you can look ahead to some of those things too.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, quick break. Want to let everybody know before we go on to our mini conversation. I want to know that along with the podcast, we are also on Substack. And you can find us at the Serene-ish Podcast.substack.com. And that's where we can go even deeper with some extra resources, some community chat. Maybe after a particular podcast, there's a resource we want to be able to provide for you, like a worksheet or a reflection or something. We'll put it on there. We're not saying it's going to happen every time, but if there is, that's where we'll have it stored. That's where we're also going to be able to do some group chats. So maybe we're thinking about having a conversation about something, but we really want your input and your experiences. We'll put it in the chat in there, and you can share, oh my goodness, I would totally love for you to talk about this. This was an experience that I had. Oh, here's a question I would want you to address. That's where that's going to all happen. And it's all going to be free, but you can find us there at the Serene-ish Podcast.substack.com, and we will put that in the notes.
Yep.
All right. So for our mini conversation, we want to talk about, what does serenity mean to you right now? What does that mean to us right now?
Great. I'm going to take a breath.
Yes.
Honestly, breath. Taking a breath. I think for me, I was getting at this earlier. Life right now, especially in parenting, feels a little chaotic and unpredictable. And I think anybody who's parented young kids will be able to connect with that, of course. And I think for me, what it means is I've recognized that there's a fair amount of like anxiety or stress that has just gotten like easily stored up in my body. And like I've been intentionally finding ways to practice stress relief or discharging stress or anger or frustration, these kinds of emotions. And being able to like find maybe like daily points, like small points of slower breathing, cardio, like working out in my garage, and things like that, where I can release some of the anxiety or stress or anger. And if I don't, it feels like rollover minutes with like cell phones. It feels like if I don't discharge it daily, there's just like a buildup. And when I'm generally like a pretty harmonious kind of person. So not many people have seen me angry or like losing it. But like a human, I've lost it before. And a lot of times that will happen with like maybe one of our kids, like, you know, it's like the 20th time one of our kids asks for something or complains about something. And then I like seemingly out of nowhere, but it's because of the buildup that's been happening in me and outside of me, I'll like yell at my kid, right?
Right.
I've been also known to like cuss, like kind of to myself, but it comes out loud.
It's supposed to stay in your thought bubble. Have I ever done that? No, I've never.
My inner monologue loses control and gets like blared out loud.
Oh my! Okay. Has this been like in front of your family?
Oh yeah. Steve and I, we cuss with each other all the time. Like it's not a big deal, and we're like, it's amusing, and that's just our banter. Yeah. There have been a few times I've like accidentally, or like literally, it just kind of comes out of my mouth. Oh my gosh. Like our kids are there, so I know it's not.
Do they correct you? Do they put you like in timeout? Like you are in trouble, Mom.
We try not to cuss. Well, especially with our two younger ones. Yeah. But our two older ones, one's a junior high and one's a high schooler. We honestly have like talked to them about appropriate and inappropriate places to drop F-bombs and stuff. And we're not, I know, I feel like we are probably pretty liberal on language, and we've talked to our kids about like what we think is our fine ways or spaces to use strong language. That's what we call it, strong language in our house. And you know, ways that's not actually helpful. So that could be a whole nother conversation.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it. Yes. Yeah. Okay,
how about you?
All right, so for me, well, wait. Before we go to me, so you said that you found these ways to discharge. I love that word, to discharge that built up energy. Do you know where like that built up energy is coming from? The anxiety or...
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be different things that might happen. So like, I don't know, like a couple weeks ago, Steve and I were looking at our finances, and it was a conversation about like really specific things about our money and our business. We co-run a business together. And to me, like the actual conversation wasn't that stressful, but I think in retrospect, I was having a little bit of anxiety about our finances. Yeah. And some of it is like Steve handles a lot of it. We have an accountant. So it's like I don't see it, but I can feel anxious about it, especially because I don't know all the nitty-gritty stuff. Right. That's just the backstory. But like, so I think I was carrying some of that anxiety just throughout the day, not really aware of it. But I had a different friend. We were talking, and I was telling her like, yeah, I'm a little stressed about this, and I can feel like my like tension in my neck and back. That's kind of where I carry stress. That's okay. And I'm also aware of it because I have a shorter fuse for things that might come up, like say from one of our kids, like our 5-year-old.
Yeah.
And like normally I would like roll with whatever is happening and like
Yeah.
have a lot of margin.
Yeah.
But like for those couple days that I was kind of stressed, I could tell like my fuse is way shorter. So like I was more, you know what I mean? Like there's just kind of anxiety kind of like just sitting inside of me. So yeah, I went for a run. I did a workout. I talked to a friend about what I was feeling. I talked to Steve. And then all of these little like practices for me, like basically help my body like metabolize that stuff and let it like go back to baseline. You know what I mean?
Ooh, I love that.
I think of baseline as like something that how I think about like versus higher stress or higher anxiety.
Yeah. No, that's really good. I had a therapist that once told me that we each have a baseline, like you're saying, of like, you know, living at that fight flight mode, fight flight or freeze, I think it is, and then or like stress or high intensity, and it should spike. Yeah. Because there's going to be times where we need to tap into that. But what happens is that a lot of times we live above that baseline. And then then at the point that we recognize, oh my goodness, I'm just stressed. I'm pushing. We try to come down and we can't come down to baseline. We go under, and that's where the crash happens. And it's really hard to get ourselves up back at baseline. What I'm hearing you say is like you're picking up on almost like those micro things that are coming in. So it wasn't like this big, massive thing in the conversation, but there's like these subtle things that can creep into you, and you're being aware enough to, okay, this was maybe a little bit more than what I thought. And what does this look like? I have like you said, I can go for a run. You're figuring out how to, I love that word, metabolize. That's such a good word to metabolize, to have that happen. So yeah, that's great. Oh man, for me, what does serenity look like right now for me? Honestly, the last few months, it's been when I've been able to go on my runs. And that's been really a place. I started going back into running because I found that I have a wonderful team around me where I can verbally process. You know, I have a spiritual director. I have a mentor coach that I meet with as part of my certification. And then I also have a therapist that I meet, depending on, you know, the frequency just depends on what's going on. But I have this great, and we're constantly talking, and I needed something like physical to kind of steal your word to help metabolize. I felt like it helped to like regulate my nervous system. And running has always been that for me in my past. And so that's why I picked up my running shoes again to see, okay, if I can get healthy, can I do this? And that's where it's been really, it's like you get so built up with all of this like energy, all these thoughts and decisions. And I take in what's happening in the world, in my community, with my friends, and what I'm seeing on the news and within my family. And I take all of this energy in. And I am the type of person where I can feel responsible for everything and everyone. And I know that I can't solve all the world's problems, but dang it, I'm going to try and figure out a way to try, you know? And getting out there and just like sweating it out has helped me to kind of get that energy, like the top off of it. I think of it like a soda pop, right? And when you pour the soda, all this fuzz, the foam comes to the top. It's all the foam that needs to come and just let that just pour over. That's what that does. And then once I'm able to do that, things feel a little bit more clear for me. Things aren't as catastrophic. Things are like, my brain has had a break from processing. And my rule is if a problem shoots into my head, I just say, no, this is not the space. We're just out here on this trail right now. And we're thinking, oh, look at the beautiful bunny over there. Oh, I think I heard a coyote coming up. Like, you know, like this is what we're thinking about, not everything else. So that has been my place for serenity. And I think the other part that's more inward that I've been carrying with me is reacquainting myself with my body. And right now in this stage of life, the last like maybe 4 or 5 years, that has been my journey, getting to know her making sure that we're in a good relationship with each other, because we've got each other, right? We're just in my body, and really looking at what is it that she needs in this stage of life to keep her healthy and strong, to be able to keep moving forward. And so that has been my like kind of looking in and saying, hey, it's okay to ask myself, what do I need right now? What do I want right now? My kids are older. I am in a different stage now, is trying to get to know who am I as my hormones are like all shifted, and it all happens so quickly. So just relearning that. So there's a lot of ish that comes into serenity for me right now, but I'm just taking it day by day.
Yeah.
Day by day.
I love it.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and close up our time together. Hopefully, we have been able to let our listeners know a little bit of what to expect as we are on this journey and different conversations. As you can see, this is not going to be the most like, how can I put it? You may hear some things that's like, oh my goodness, can you say that? Can you do that? And we're going to say things and we're going to do things, and because this is real life. And it's probably happening in a lot more places than you think, So we're just going to talk real life. But I want to end with kind of a fun question. And I'd like to see if we can just kind of keep doing this every time. So what was a GOAT moment of the week for you? When life climbed on you while you were just trying to chill, what was a GOAT moment for you this week?
That's a great question. I mean, this has happened actually multiple times this week. Our 5-year-old Austin, he wakes up at the crack of dawn, and we've taught him, like, don't come out of your room. We have an alarm that like turns green at 6 a.m. If he gets up before 6 a.m., before it's green, then he knows, like, don't get out of bed. Okay.
I like that.
Yeah. But maybe we should adjust the time. Anyway, so at 6 a.m., he knows, like, I can burst out of my room. So literally the first thing he decides to do most mornings is run outside, fling open his door very loudly, run into our room, jump on our bed on top of me. And like, this is me. I'm like trying to sleep, right? And I'm having like a real nice sleep. I have my my earplugs in. I've had a great rest. And I immediately get woken up because this like 40-pound kid is like leaps on top of my body. And he thinks it's really funny. I have a mole right on my cheek, right? He thinks it's really funny to like press my mole like it's a button and then make noise.
Oh my gosh, no.
And I'm like lying there like, Austin, what do you want? Can we go back to sleep? So for me, and then, that's like my wake up call instead of a nice alarm clock like normal people have. But for me, that's my GOAT moment of the week, where a kid, a human is jumping on top of me in a way that wakes me up from my nice, peaceful sleep.
Literally jumping on you. Literally. Oh my gosh. All right. My GOAT moment this week was in the half marathon that I ran.
Yeah.
At mile 7, it's 13.1 miles. At mile 7, my Apple Watch died.
Oh, no.
Yes. And I know everyone tells me I should get, was it a Garmin? I think that's the watch. They're just so expensive, and I haven't wanted to do it. And I knew this could be a potential issue, but it was going so well. And it was telling me, like, we had a pace that I was going to do, and it was telling me when to slow down, when to pick it up. Like, we're just flowing. And then mile 7 hits, and I keep going, and I'm noticing I should be hitting mile 8. It feels like I should be hitting I'm not hearing anything. And I go to tap on the watch, and it's just black, no screen. I hit the button. There's a little red thing, and like, oh. So from that point on, I had to just go deep within and just feel my body and the pace and now mind you, I'm not running this with any kind of earbuds. There's no music, because they tell you they'd rather you didn't wear earbuds. So it's just me trying to track my pace. And I felt like that was like that was, I know these are baby goats, but that baby goat, that was a big baby goat on my back. I was like, I'm hoping I'm running okay. But then I did have to remind myself, like, what was my whole purpose in doing this? We were going to have fun. We were going to enjoy it. We are just going to flow with this goat on my back right now. And we're going to enjoy the rest of this race. So that was the goat on my back. Well, everyone, hopefully this can be a reminder to you that goat moments are going to happen and we can't necessarily stop them. With all the planning that we're going to do, we can try to prevent it, but sometimes they just happen. And so we get to decide, how are we going to respond or react? How do we flow? Maybe we do need to take the goat and put the goat to the side and say, nope, not right now. And other times we're just going to keep going and the goat's going to be our companion and things are going to look a little different. So be encouraged. Thank you for listening. Hit the subscribe button, visit our Substack, and you can find us on Instagram as well. And we will see you again next time.